This episode of Profiles in Risk is sponsored by InsurTech Insights New York City, the largest InsurTech conference of the spring season. Join us on June 5th and 6th in New York City at the beautiful Javits Center as we dive into the future of insurance technology. Use discount code INERDS25 to save 25% on your ticket. See you in New York! Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I have with me Martha Dreilling. Yes, Dreilling, co-founder and COO at Reserv. Martha, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
It's going really well. Thanks, Tony, for having me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. We are recording on Friday, April 12th, 2024, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, which means a couple of things. Number one, we are recording the week of the amazing solar eclipse that went through 15 different states. I happened to fly to Ohio to see it. It was incredible. And number two, that you are the last meeting before I go and enjoy my weekend, which I will start by roller skating on the Atlanta Beltline and then doing some magic on the Beltline. So I, it's going to be the weather's looking great here in Atlanta, so I'm excited. So it looks like you're in Virginia.
Yeah, I'm in the
Any
beautiful Shenandoah Valley outside of DC.
did you guys get some view of the eclipse, or were you not on the path?
No, we had some view. I think it was about 89%
Oh, that's
in
pretty good.
our area, so pretty close to totality.
Awesome, fantastic. Uh, we always give the guest a chance to give the elevator pitch. What is Reserv?
Reserv is a digitally native TPA that is rebuilding the model, doing two things that we think are fundamentally different. The first is we want to use best in class technology to kind of aid the adjusters. So that means all of the fancy technical buzzwords like leveraging AI in smart ways, having APIs in and out of the platform, keeping doing deep dives into the data that is driving risk in an MGA's portfolio. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is we want to take the best adjusting talent in the market and marry it with the best technology in the market to deliver the best claims outcomes. We're 22 months into our journey and 200 people globally. So we're in the US and the UK markets today, serving the full spectrum of P&C complexity from E&O, D&O to GL, property, auto, surety bonds. We do everything but workers' comp today.
Yeah, that is a very wide, like going from E&O, D&O to surety is a very broad base of operations. Okay, okay. So that's a great elevator pitch. You have that down. Fantastic job. Okay, so let's kind of like what's the word? Let's dig into it a little bit. Okay, so I took notes. Okay, digitally native TPA. Cool. So TPA, third party claims administrator. Rebuilding the model of TPAs. Okay, so I spent 2 years in claims, but always carrier side and very entry level before I went to underwriting. Um, so I've never dealt directly with a TPA, but my understanding of the TPA world is basically an outsourced claims department that any carrier, MGA, whatever, self-insured plan, etc., can use to handle the claims. Okay. Now, from the outside, it does not like thinking of the big ones, and there does seem to be like two or three like big players,
Yeah.
and a whole in the U.S. and a whole bunch of uh, of smaller players. Um, it does not appear that they're particularly technology enabled, right?
Mhm.
And chatting with people who have worked in TPAs, I've never had somebody go like, "I'm so glad I left Liberty Mutual and went to whatever TPA. The technology is so much better," right?
Yeah.
Generally not the case. And also, one thing that I've chatted with a lot of adjusters is if you adjust for one company, you get to know their product. I mean, you still have to read the policy, but you get to know their product. If you are at a TPA, you might be working with 30 different forms. You might be working with 100 different forms, right? So it's complicated. So tell me about the technology that you guys are using, and how it uh, redefines the model of a TPA.
Yeah. There's been a lot of really exciting SaaS technology that's hit the market in the
Mm-hmm.
last 5 to 8 years. And it's not just in the claims and insurance arena, it's also kind of the full spectrum of company building, from
Mm-hmm.
Sling to Ramp to new policy admin systems. And I think what is challenging for some of the TPA incumbents is not dissimilar from what is challenging to a large legacy carrier. It's hard to adopt new technology when you have thousands of people on staff. And our kind of premise is a lot of magical things happen when you start leveraging the modern SaaS tooling. You can do things like apply AI to the claims experience. Yes,
You you you
magician.
you said the magic word, so I have to
Yeah.
show off. Okay, so a lot of magical things happen when you apply the right technology. This is very simple technology, but still okay. Continue.
Yeah, a lot of magical things do happen when you apply the right technology. And our thesis has always been that the modern MGA needs a modern partner on the claims side to help give them the data that they need to kind of control risk in their book. And so at Reserv, we want to use all of the modern tooling to deliver better data, better experience, and a faster experience to policyholders, claimants, MGAs, and carriers. Because what's unique about the TPA model is everybody is sort of dissatisfied with it. Claimants are dissatisfied with it. Policyholders are dissatisfied with it. And MGAs and carriers have had a lot of challenges. And we think it's time to kind of come at the problem with fresh eyes, to really see how you can apply things like AI to just speed up the total claims process.
I'm really loving this. Okay. Other than the fact that without prompting, because we did not prep for that, uh, let me do my magician thing, because I am a magician. Uh, okay, so very interesting. Okay, so the modern MGA needs a modern partner on the claim side that gives them the right data to be able to control the risks. That makes a lot of sense. And so going back a little bit, you talked about how the last 8 to 10 years, really exciting tech has hit the market. Yes, I would call that the insurtech revolution.
Mhm.
Okay. I've interviewed 530 founders or so. Well, some of those were Lamparelli, but together we have interviewed 500 plus founders. Um, it is, and even for me, where I don't have to implement anything, uh, even for me, it's very hard to know where to advise companies to go when it comes. There's so many options, right? Yeah. So yes, and it is very hard for an existing carrier or TPA to bring in the right technology and implement it, and it's very much the metaphor of changing the engine while the airplane's in flight, right? Uh, so very hard to do. So if you're building from the ground up, you have significant advantages. Now, the insurtech revolution, because in the US, right, I'm very US heavy. In the US, because of how expensive it is to start a carrier, because of 57 regulators, because of uh, how conservatively by law you have to invest your reserves, it is very hard to start a carrier. So lots of the operations have started, lots of the insurtechs have taken the MGA model, right? And it might be an MGA to carrier eventually type of move. But yeah, many of the great insurtechs that are they're making waves in our industry are MGAs. They're tech-enabled MGAs, but they can either build their own claims departments that are equally tech-enabled as they are, or deal with a traditional TPA. Right?
Mhm.
So yes, this is brilliant. This makes a lot of sense to me. Basically, of course, it's all in the execution, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, so give me some examples. How and by the way, you also said something really important at the beginning. Best in class technology that aids the adjusters. No, so it's not just we're analyzing the data in the back end and bringing that data back to the MGAs or carriers or whoever that we partner with that we have the claims for, but also the adjusters themselves are working with better technology, and that's a big advantage. So I'd love to hear what it looks like, right? Let's start from the perspective of an MGA. So we partner with you guys instead of going to a traditional, or we used to have a traditional TPA, but we couldn't handle it anymore. We came to you guys. What does my world look like now that you're my TPA?
There's a couple of places where I think MGAs have a noticeably different experience with Reserve. The first is we love doing policy integrations. We want to retrieve your policy information automatically. So the MGA doesn't necessarily need to staff a person who goes and gets the policy forms for the adjuster every time a new claim comes in. The second is our technology is keeping the MGA up to date on the claim status through the entire life cycle. So prior to Reserve, I was an MGA operator, and I do kind of know the pain of a broker calling in and asking what the claim status is, but you don't have the claim status because you aren't the ones processing the claims. So we make it easy for MGAs to stay abreast on what's going on with the claim files, whether it's direct integrations into the MGA system, whether it's data feeds running back and forth, APIs. Our goal is to make that really easy. And then the second is we are incredibly focused on delivering a great experience to policyholders and claimants. The very worst thing, and very worst experience I think an MGA can have with the TPA is to have a policyholder or claimant call them with you know with a story of a claim experience that wasn't up to par, where the TPA wasn't communicative, they didn't send the appropriate documents, they didn't ask the right questions, or they were slow to make a payments. We want to optimize the whole claims process for speed, because speed is not only the best way in most instances for a delightful experience, but it's also one of the best ways to control indemnity costs long term. And so every step of our process, from FNOL intake to the adjusting experience to payments, is being optimized for speed and information back to claimants and MGAs.
All right, every step from FNOL to the adjusting process to payment optimized for speed. Fantastic. But now, if you're if you're optimizing for speed, I worry about what I'm gonna call the lemonade.
Yeah,
Uh, world record, we settle a claim in 6 seconds. Yes, but what's your loss ratio, right? Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, paying a claim is really easy if
yes,
you just pay it, right?
yeah.
So how are you also making sure that it's not only optimized for speed, but that it's accurate?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it's a common concern I think a lot of people have with the TPA is not necessarily the question of speed, but did the adjuster make the right adjusting system for the facts of that claim? And so we do a few things that I think are really interesting. The first is we hire incredibly seasoned adjusting a talent that comes from an NGA carrier background. These are people who have kind of an ownership mindset of what it means to create a good decision for a claim. The second is our technology enables the adjusters to make smart decisions, whether it's feeding them information or tasks related to the local regulatory environment, or it's AI technology that helps them understand the policy forms so the adjuster can make the correct decision. And one of the core values at Reserv is we want to humanize the complex and we want to automate the mundane. So we want to take away all of the mundane parts of the adjuster's job so they can focus on what they do best, which is making really sophisticated and complex decisions and providing empathy to the customer. Because a thing we tell the team all the time is nobody, by definition, if you're talking to a TPA, you've had a bad day. And you need an empathetic ear on the other side to kind of guide you through what to expect next. And so we do optimize for speed, but we have a tremendous amount of infrastructure that's supporting great, high quality decisions.
There are no words to how much I love that value. That is fantastic. Whoever phrased that is a genius. That is amazing. Humanize the complex, automate the mundane. I hope that the entire AI revolution is led by that idea. That is fantastic. And too often technology, it goes unfortunately not in that direction, right? Too often we end up with too much automation and nobody to actually answer the question, or too much automation and nobody to the empathy of claims is so important. I absolutely love that.
It's a core guiding principle here at Reserv. I think there are technologists who can approach a problem like a claim with the idea that you can take the adjuster out of the loop. That is not the kind of approach that we're taking. It is to give technology to aid the adjusters to make the right decision on the right timeline, and deliver a great experience along the way.
I'm blown away. That is fantastic. How I'm a believer. I'm a believer. So I am super curious of the origin story. How did you realize that this was needed and that you were the right people to do it?
Yeah, our origin story is actually pretty interesting. So we're a venture incubation from Altai Ventures and Bain Capital Ventures. And Runyon Design Studio helped put together a lot of the original thesis of Reserv. But what I think is interesting about us is we're a startup that is not two kids in the garage. This is serious industry professionals recognizing a real opportunity in the market. So in our kind of origin story, there were carriers involved from the beginning and insurance professionals involved from the beginning. So my co-founder, CJ Prisbal, was the co-founder of Snapsheet. He spent a decade in the claims space, reimagining virtual auto appraisals, and then also building SaaS-based claims technology. And myself, I've spent 15 years in venture-backed startups. I did kind of 8 in the fintech space, helping really thinking critically about how you marry people, process, and technology to make a lending decision. And I helped take a company public called On Deck. And then the rest of my career was in the insurance MGA space. So I kind of lived and breathed the pain of an MGA when they're interacting with the TPA. And so CJ and myself and a woman named Donna Beyondich and a whole other host of kind of real industry professionals kind of came together in June of 2022, so about 22 months ago, to get started on Reserv. And what I think is remarkable about our story is we're 22 months in. We're live with over 25 customers. We have 200 people globally. We're in multiple markets, and I think we've stumbled upon a real need for kind of a next generation TPA to keep pace with next generation MGAs and carriers.
Fantastic. Um, Tell me, and I should have asked this question before the origin story, but uh, tell me about the data. So if I'm an MGA that's using you guys, what does my claims data world look like?
This is a really exciting topic, and it's going to start with how we structure our data because the foundation of your data is the most critical thing. What I think is kind of interesting about our approach is we want to do policy APIs, so we have the kind of full spectrum of policy information. And then our emails that the adjusters or communications that adjusters have with policyholders and claimants happen inside the claim system. So what MGAs can get from us is every email about a claim, every SMS messages, notes, our phone calls are recorded and transcribed. And you have the kind of totality of information about what's happening on a claim. And that's where the gold is. You want to know, an MGA wants to know not that it was water damage and $10,000. What they fundamentally want to know is that it's water damage and $10,000 because a lead pipe burst on an exterior wall. It flooded the basement. It was a 100-year cold snap and it was 5 miles from the coast. If you think about who would have that information, only the person who's processing the claim would have the totality of that information. And it lives in emails, notes, claim documents. And by starting with kind of clean data architecture from the beginning, an MGA has the kind of full spectrum of data that would live in those claim files available to them. And we also offer kind of a variety of machine learning, NLP models or AI models to help them go answer really critical questions that they need to know about what's happening in their claim book.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, really awesome. I never thought that a new generation of MGAs required a new generation of TPAs, but it absolutely makes sense. Um, very cool. So a little bit less than 2 years old, uh, and already sizable. Very cool. When this goes live, I will tag both you and the company on LinkedIn. For any listeners, and by the way, this is probably coming out late May. Uh, for the listeners, any conferences that they might be able to meet you guys at? Are you going to InsurTech Insights, or are you going to ITC? Are you going to Connected Claims? Where might they be able to meet you on the team?
Yeah, so we'll be at InsurTech Insights June 5th and 6th. We'll be at the RIMS conference May 5th through 7th in San Diego, and then we'll be at ITC at the end of the year as well.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. Uh, I'd love to have you back in a couple of years and talk about how things have evolved and how the difference that you've made for the TPS that you partner with. At this point, it's kind of early, but I would love to kind of see like talk about the ROI that they've had from partnering with you. Again, thank you so much for your time. Super interesting stuff.
All right, thanks so much.